You know what is truly rare in Australia now? Places where life is not shaped by trends, apps, and constant noise. Places where the main street still looks like it did when your grandparents were young, not because someone turned it into a tourist show, but because nobody ever felt a need to change it. These towns are not perfect. They are not easy. But they still hold something most people think Australia has lost. Stay with this video till the end, because number 1 is one of the most unbelievable examples of a town that never moved on, and it still looks like a picture of historic Australia you've seen before without even realizing it. 1. Nhill, Victoria. Nhill is the kind of place that does not try to impress you. It does not chase attention. It just keeps living the way it always has. Set out in the Wimmera, it feels like a working wheat town that stayed honest while the rest of the country got faster and louder. What hits you first is how calm it is. The streets feel wide, the sky feels big, and everything feels like it has time. The main street has those older shopfronts with deep verandas that throw long shadows across the footpath. Signs look sun-faded, not styled. You get the feeling they were painted once, and nobody saw a reason to repaint them just to look modern. The town still has that rhythm where people know each other, and where a trip to the bakery or the pub turns into a real conversation, not a quick tap and go. There are places where you can still see the old habits of the past in small details. Businesses that close early because they always have. The community group that still matters. Local sport that still pulls people together like it used to. The town does not feel like it is pretending to be old. It feels old because it never tried to become anything else. The trade-off is real. It can feel far from everything. Summers can be harsh. If you need big services, you will travel. Young people often leave for study or work. But for people who want quiet, affordability, and a place where life feels steady, Nhill is the kind of town that makes you breathe slower without even trying. 11. Peterborough, South Australia. Peterborough carries the bones of a bigger past. This is a town built around rail, built when trains were not a hobby or a tourist thing, but the way Australia moved. You can feel that history in the scale of the buildings, in the stone structures, and in the way the town seems set up for more people than live there now. There's something powerful about a place that once mattered so much, then went quiet, but never got erased. The railway story is everywhere, and it gives Peterborough a strong identity. It feels like a town that remembers its working life. The main street has those solid older buildings that look like they were made to last, not made to flip. Some shops still feel like they've been there forever, with shelves that carry the same kind of stock people have always bought. The pace is slow. Sundays are still Sundays. Lunch can still empty out a town like a curtain dropping. You notice how little rush there is, and how normal that feels once you settle into it. The people who love Peterborough often love it because it is not trying to rebrand. It is not trying to become a modern destination. It is just a real place, shaped by real work, holding on to its shape even after the big industry faded. The trade-off is that work opportunities are limited. It can feel like a town in a quieter chapter of life. Some people find that sad. Others find it peaceful. If you're the type who wants loud options and constant activity, this will not be your place. But if you like history you can touch, older buildings that still have purpose, and a town that measures life in seasons instead of headlines, Peterborough delivers something rare. 10. Chiltern, Victoria. Chiltern has a main street that feels like it was never updated in the way most towns were. It carries that gold-era look, but it does not feel like a staged set. It feels like a place that kept functioning while the world changed around it. When you walk down the street, you get that strange feeling of stepping into another decade. Not because it's frozen in time like a museum, but because the bones never got replaced. Old verandas still stretch over the footpath. Faded signs still cling to shopfronts. Buildings still look like they were built with pride and patience. Inside, you might find wooden floors that creak the way they always have, old fittings that never got ripped out, and local businesses that feel like they're run by people, not systems. Chiltern has that quiet confidence of a town that does not need to explain itself. People who move there often say the same thing. It feels real. Not a place acting old for visitors, but a place that simply stayed itself. The trade-off is that when towns like this get noticed, prices can rise. Services are limited. Work can be limited. And if you want big city choice, you will travel. But if you want character, calm, and streets that still look like the old photos you grew up seeing, Chiltern feels like a living piece of the past that never got polished into something fake. That's the first 3 towns, and already you can see the pattern. These places still feel like the 60s because they were bypassed, not because they were packaged. They kept their old ways because modern life didn't fully move in. And as we keep going, the towns get even stronger in personality, even more surprising, and in some cases, even more remote. Keep watching till the end, because the higher we go, the more it feels like you've stepped into an Australia most people think is gone forever. 9. Junee, New South Wales. Junee feels like a town that once stood taller than it does now, and you can still see that former importance in the streets and buildings. It has that big town energy, trapped inside a smaller modern reality. The roads feel wide. The buildings feel proud. The town layout feels like it was designed for crowds, for busy days, for work that mattered. A lot of it comes back to rail history. That rail influence sits underneath the whole place like a backbone. You can sense it in the old structures, the practical design, and the way the town seems built for movement, even if the movement is slower now. Some places have that old country town feel where the pub is still the place people actually meet, not just somewhere you book online for a meal. You get the sense that community still lives in real spaces. It's in local sport, local clubs, local events that feel normal, not marketed. Junee also has that strong appeal for people who want a town that still functions. It's not tiny. It's not a ghost town. It's a place where you can raise kids, where you can run into someone you know, where you can still feel like you belong to a place, not just a postcode. The trade-off is distance from the big city life some people are used to. Job options can be limited depending on what you do. Summers can be hot and dry. And if you're the type who needs constant variety, you will feel the edges of country life. But if you want heritage character without extreme isolation, Junee can feel like a town that never fully let modern Australia rewrite it. 8. Burra, South Australia. Burra feels like a town built out of stone and silence. It has a weight to it. The kind of weight you feel in old mining towns where the land remembers the work that was done. You can walk through Burra and feel like you're walking through a story that never got cleaned up into something shiny. The stone buildings are everywhere, and they give the town a look you don't see often. It's not just 1 or 2 old places. It's a whole feeling. Wide streets, solid walls, a sense of space and a sense of time. This is the kind of town where the past doesn't feel distant. It feels close, like you could turn a corner and see the old world still standing there, waiting. There are places where you can understand how hard life used to be, how people lived with less comfort, more risk, more distance from help. That honesty is part of the magic. Burra doesn't feel like it's selling you a dream. It feels like it's showing you the truth. People who love Burra often love it for the atmosphere. The light on stone. The quiet. The feeling that you can think clearly there. The trade-off is that services are limited. If you need quick access to hospitals or specialist help, you have to plan. Work can be almost non-existent. You have to be comfortable with a slower, simpler life. But if you want to live inside real history, not just visit it, Burra has that rare ability to make you feel like you've stepped into another Australia, one built on mining, endurance, and a very different pace. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, these towns are old and quiet, but do they really feel like the 60s? The answer is yes, and it's not about one single thing. It's the full mix. The slower hours, the unchanged streets, the way people still gather in the same places, the way the town still works without modern polish. And from here, the list starts to turn even more strange and beautiful, because the next towns don't just feel old. They feel untouched. Keep watching, because the next entries show you the kind of Australia that most people only see in old photos, and even then, they assume it's gone. 7. Ross, Tasmania. Ross feels like a small town that somehow slipped through time without being shaken loose. It's the kind of place where the buildings don't just look old, they feel old in the best way, like they've been standing quietly while generations passed. The streets feel tidy and calm, and there's a strong sense of heritage, but not in a loud way. More like a quiet confidence. You can see stone buildings that carry that older style, and the whole place has the feel of a village rather than a modern town. There's something special about waking up in a place where the past is not behind glass. It's outside your door. A bridge can be more than a crossing. A pub can be more than a business. A bakery can feel like a routine that has outlived trends. Ross is small, and because it's small, life feels close. People notice each other. The town doesn't hide behind anonymity. That can be beautiful if you want community, but it can also feel tight if you want privacy. The trade-off is that services are limited and Tasmanian distance is real. Winters can bite. You have to drive for many basics, and for anything serious you will go further. But for people who want a village feel, old stone, quiet streets, and a place that still feels like it belongs to an earlier Australia, Ross delivers that rare calm that makes you forget what day it is. 6. Sofala, New South Wales. Sofala feels like stepping into a frontier story that never got finished. It's small, and it's old, and it carries a kind of rough honesty that you can't fake. The buildings have that timber feel, the kind of main street you expect to see in an old film, except it's not a film set. It's real. The pub feels like the town's living room. The post office feels like it has always been there. The road feels like it leads into the past rather than into something new. Sofala has a strange power because it doesn't feel managed. It doesn't feel like someone decided to preserve it as a product. It feels like it survived because it was too small, too forgotten, too out of the way for anyone to come in and replace it with modern stuff. The quiet in Sofala is not just normal quiet. It's deep quiet. You hear wind. You hear birds. You hear the river. And you realize how loud your normal life is because here, sound stands out. The trade-off is that it's not convenient. Services are almost nothing. You plan your life around going elsewhere for basics. It's not the kind of town you choose by accident. It's the kind you choose because you want separation from modern life, and you're willing to pay for it in distance and self-reliance. For the right person, that trade is worth it. For most people, it's not. But that's exactly why Sofala still feels the way it does. It stayed old because modern comfort did not settle in. Now we're moving into towns that don't just feel like the 60s. They feel like they were left behind by the modern world. And somehow that left behind feeling became the thing that saved them. And from here, the next entries become even more dramatic, because we're heading into places where population dropped, industries faded, and yet the buildings stayed. Keep watching till the end because when you see the top of this list, you'll realize there are still parts of Australia that look like the old photos, not because they're pretending, but because they never stopped being themselves. 5. Ravenswood, Queensland. Ravenswood feels like a town that should have vanished, but didn't. It's small now, but it was once much bigger, and that old size still shows in the buildings and the layout. There's something haunting about a place where the streets and structures were built for thousands, and now only a few remain. You feel the gap. You feel the emptiness. And yet, you also feel a stubborn kind of life still going. Old pubs still pour drinks. Old buildings still stand in the heat. Ruins sit beside places that still function. The town feels like it's been slowly breathing out for generations, getting quieter decade by decade, but refusing to become a true ghost town. The sound is different out here. Silence feels heavy. Heat feels like a force you have to respect. Nights can feel wide and endless. And because the town is so small, community becomes survival. People depend on each other more than city people understand. The trade-off is extreme distance and real hardship. Medical help is not around the corner. Supplies require planning. Summer heat can be brutal. But for the kind of person who wants the real outback edge without the town being completely dead, Ravenswood is one of the rare places where you can still touch that older Australia and feel it in your bones. 4. Q, Western Australia. Q feels unreal, like a grand old town placed in the middle of a huge quiet landscape where hardly anyone lives now. The buildings look too big for the population. That's the first shock. You can stand in the street and feel like you're looking at the remains of a city dream that shrank back into the desert. There's an outback pride here, and you feel it. This isn't a place that survived by being cute. It survived by being tough. Old hotels, old government buildings, old halls, old stone and brick structures that still hold their shape. The town feels like it runs on a different clock. Not a daily rush clock. A long clock. A generation's clock. People who live here know that distance changes everything. It changes how you shop, how you plan, how you handle problems, how you deal with health, how you deal with loneliness. The trade-off is extreme isolation. It's not a romantic trade-off. It's real. Heat, long drives, limited services, and a future that can feel uncertain. But if you want a place that still carries the shape of old Australia, the kind that existed when gold towns built big dreams fast, Kew gives you that feeling in a way few places can. 3. Maldon, Victoria. Maldon is different from the outback towns because it's closer to big population areas, but it still holds its old look with a kind of stubborn pride. This is a town that feels like it made a choice to stay itself. When you walk through Maldon Centre, it feels like the modern world stopped at the edge and didn't come in. You see old shop fronts, old verandas, old signs, and you don't see the usual modern clutter. It feels clean in a strange way, like your eyes can rest. The town carries a strong sense of heritage, and unlike some places that feel forgotten, Maldon feels protected. People care. They fight to keep the look. They say no to changes that would break the streetscape. That's why it still feels like another decade when you stand there. You can buy lollies the old way. You can sit in a pub that feels like it has been a pub forever. You can move through the street and imagine the old gold era because the buildings still hold that shape. The trade-off is that when a town becomes known for being special, prices rise. Tourism can bring crowds on weekends. Heritage rules can frustrate people who want to renovate freely. Jobs can still be limited. But for people who want the best balance of old Australia feeling without extreme isolation, Maldon is one of the strongest examples of a town that still carries that earlier pace. Now we're at the top 3, and this is where the feeling becomes almost shocking. These next towns don't just have old buildings. They have old atmosphere, old rhythm, old emptiness after shops close, old community life centered around simple places. Keep watching till the end, because number 1 is the closest thing you will find to walking into a picture of historic Australia that somehow stayed real. 2. Silverton, New South Wales. Silverton feels like the edge of Australia's imagination. It's small, it's remote, and it looks like a place made for stories. The land is wide, the sky is huge, and the town sits in that outback light that makes everything look sharper and more honest. Silverton has that rare quality where it doesn't need help to look old. It already looks old. It already looks like the past is still sitting in the dust. The pub is not just a pub. It's the heartbeat. It's the meeting place, the shelter, the center of social life in a place where life is shaped by heat and distance. Buildings stand either as working structures or as proud ruins. And that mix is part of what makes it feel so real. Nothing looks polished. Nothing looks designed. It's just there. The rhythm of life in a place like this is different. People learn to live with the day, not against it. They learn to plan, to accept quiet, to accept that not everything is available instantly. The trade-off is extreme conditions. Heat that can be dangerous. Services far away. A small population that means community is close, but also limited. If you choose Silverton, you choose it on purpose. But for people who want complete escape from modern noise, and who want to live inside a town that still feels like old outback Australia, Silverton is one of the strongest examples left. 1. Gulgong, New South Wales. Gulgong is number 1 because it feels like the complete package. It has the old look, the old pace, the old rhythm, but it also still functions as a real town. It's not just a small place clinging to survival. It's alive. And that's what makes it so rare. When you walk down the main street, you see that long, continuous heritage streetscape where the verandas line up and the shop fronts feel like they've been there forever. Painted signs. Older windows. Traditional businesses. A bakery that feels like it's always been part of the town's daily life. A pub that still feels like the social center. Streets that don't feel built for speed. A town that still empties out in the evening except where people gather to talk, eat, and share stories. What makes Gulgong feel stuck in the 60s isn't just the buildings. It's the feeling that the town never fully accepted the modern idea that everything must change, grow, and turn into a brand. It stayed practical. It stayed simple. It stayed walkable. It stayed human. And that human scale is what people miss when they say Australia has changed too much. Gulgong still has that older kind of community life where places matter. The bakery matters. The pub matters. The main street matters. The local events matter. The people matter. The trade-off is still real. You're not in a big city. Career options can be limited depending on your work. Winters can feel cold. Specialist services may mean travel. Young people still leave for bigger opportunities. But for families who want kids to grow up in a safer, calmer environment, for retirees who want community without pretending trade-offs don't exist, for remote workers who want a real town instead of a lifestyle product, Gulgong is one of the best examples of old Australia still living in plain sight. So here's the honest truth. Towns that still feel like the 60s exist for one main reason. Modern life did not fully move in. They were bypassed. They were forgotten. They were too far, too quiet, too slow for the big wave of change to rewrite them. And that's why they still have what people say they miss. The slower days. The quiet streets. The main street that still looks like a real main street, not a copy. The pub as a real community place. The sense that people still belong to the town instead of just passing through it. But that lifestyle comes with a cost. Less choice. More planning. More driving. Fewer services. Less entertainment. More heat or more cold. More quiet. And some people cannot handle that. That's fine. This is not a fantasy. It's a trade. And for the people who want it enough, these towns are still out there, waiting. If you made it all the way to the end, write in the comments which town surprised you the most, or which one you could actually picture yourself living in. And if you want more videos like this, real places, real trade-offs, and the parts of Australia that still feel like the old days, make sure you subscribe and like this video so more people who are tired of modern noise can find it.